this project you'll need any colors of your choice. I'll be using 4 colors for a size small to medium. If you're a size large, you will need 5 colors. If you're an XL, you will need 6 colors. So I'll be using green, yellow, maroon and white, and then I bring back the middle color on the edges as I join the granny squares together. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is how to make the granny square. So you'll need your yarn and a pair of scissors to cut off the loose ends, and then you also need a 4mm crochet hook, and then you'll also need a measuring tape. This measuring tape is going to help me give you the measurements of each of my squares. So let's begin. I'm going to start off with my green color. And I'm going to be using 2 strands. If you have kind of thick yarn, then you don't need to double your strand. If you have very thin yarn, because this is fingering yarn, I'll be using 2 strands for mine. So you're going to start off with a magic ring. You're going to just rotate this yarn around like this and make a cross, and then pull this loop through like that and hold. Remove your fingers. So this is your magic ring, and you are going to make a chain of 3. 1, 2 and 3, and this counts as our very first double crochet. You're going to go into the same magic ring with another double crochet and then double crochet. So we shall have a total of 3 double crochets, considering the chain 3 as one of the double crochets. And then you're going to chain 2. Then you're going to go into the same magic ring with a total of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets into the same ring, chain 2, and then 3 double crochets into the same ring. So we have a total of 4 groups of 3 double crochets, and then you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to pull on this tail of the magic ring to close it up. Then after this, you're going to go into the top of the first chain 3 with a slip stitch. Like that. And then you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So this marks the end of our very first row, and you can see the chain 2 spaces create corners. So we have a total of 1, 2, 3 and 4 corners, which makes it a square. So we're going to introduce our second color, which is yellow. I'm using the same exact yarn brand, so you'll see me doubling my strand, but if you didn't double your first strand and you're using the same exact yarn brand for each color, then you don't need to double your strand. So you're going to make a slip knot, and you're going to grab your project. So from here, you are going to go into this chain 2 that's next to that tail that we just cut. You attach your yarn, and then you're going to chain 3, and then you're going to go into that same chain 2 space with 2 more double crochets. So far we have a total of 3, because the chain 3 counts as a stitch. And then you're going to chain 2, 3 more double crochets into the same space. So we have 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then you're going to chain 1 and go into the next chain 2 space. So you're going to go into the next chain 2 space with a total of 3 double crochets. Chain 2 and 3 more double crochets. Like that. So we've created another corner. Every chain 2 space creates a corner, and if it's not a corner, then it just gets 1 chain. So since this wasn't a corner, we just made 1 chain here. So chain 1, since this is not a corner, and then you're going to go into the chain 2 space, which is a corner, and you're going to place a total of 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets into the same space. 1, 2, and 3. So we've created our third corner here, and then you're going to chain 1, and you're going to go into the last chain 2 space here with a total of 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3, and then you're going to chain 2 and 3 more double crochets into the same space. So 1, 2, and 3. So after this, you're going to chain 1 and then go on top of the chain 3 at the beginning of your round with a slip stitch, and then you'll chain 1 and leave a tail and cut your yarn. So after doing this, you'll notice that we've been weaving in these tails, but this isn't so neat, so I decided to pull them out, and I'll just make a knot of those 2 yarns together. I'll just end up tying them together. I think that will be neater, because this will be the wrong side of my work. So let me just do that right now. I'm going to just make a double knot, and you can see it's hiding behind the yellow, so it won't even be visible. After that, you'll cut your yarn. So we've gotten rid of the tails of the yellow and the green. So after this, you are going to attach your next color, which is maroon. So my maroon color is here, and this time we are going to be attaching to the chain space that is next to the tail, so that we just tie the strands together. So this time we are going to be attaching our yarn here in that chain 1 space, and since it's not a corner, you're going to chain 3, and that will count as a double crochet, and then go into the same space with 2 double crochets. So that will be a total of 3 double crochets. Hope you can see that. And after this, you will chain 1. This is a corner, so it gets a total of 3 double crochets. Chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets into the same space, like that. So we've created our very first corner, and then chain 1 3 double crochets into the chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the chain 2 space. So since this is a corner, it will get 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets because we are creating our second corner. And then after that, you're going to chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. So every chain 1 space only gets 3 double crochets, like that. And then chain 1, this is a corner, so it gets 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets to create our third corner. And then chain 1, this is a chain 1 space, so it will only get 3 double crochets. After this, you're going to chain 1, and then this is a corner, so it will get 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets. So keep that in mind. Whenever it's a chain 1 space, it only gets 3 double crochets, but if it's a corner, then it gets 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. And after this, you're going to chain 1, and you're going to slip stitch on top of the very first chain 3 of the round. And after that, you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So this marks the end of our third round, and then you turn your work to the back and make a knot between the yellow and the red strands that are close to each other. Make sure you don't tie this one, the very recent tail. That's the one that is tied with the next color. So after this, this is what we have. And now we are going to introduce our next color, which is white. And this time we are going to attach the white in this space because it's the one closest to this tail. It will make it easier for us to tie together. So you're going to get your white color. Make a slip knot and attach in this chain 1 space closest to the tail. After attaching your yarn, you're going to chain 3, and since this is not a corner here, you're going to just place 2 more double crochets to make a total of 3, since the chain 3 counts as a stitch. Then you're going to chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1. This is a corner, so you know what to do. We place 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets, like that. And then you're going to chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 2 space. So since this is a chain 2 space, we place 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets, like that. And then after this, you're going to chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1. This is a corner, so it will get 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 more double crochets. Like that. And then you're going to chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1. This is a corner, so it will get 3 double crochets, 1, 2 and 3, and then you're going to chain 2 and then 3 more double crochets into the same space. So we shall have our 4th corner finished, and after this you'll chain 1 and slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 that we created at the beginning of our round. And then you'll chain 1 and cut your yarn. And then you'd go to the back and make a knot between the 2 recent colors, the white and the maroon. Make a double knot at the back of your work. So the side that has the knots means that's the wrong side of our work. Like that. And then this is the size that I want for a size small to medium. So I've done a total of 4 colors. And this measures 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches since it's a square. So if you're a size large, I would advise you to go ahead and make 1 more row for your poncho. If you're a size extra large, you're going to make 2 more rows. So you're going to decide which colors that you want for your poncho to extend by 2 rows or by 1 row, depending on your size. And since this is 4.5, that means if you're working for a size large, then you'd have about 5.5 to 6 inches. Then for XL, you would have about 6.5 to 7 inches for your granny square before we place our very last row that joins the granny squares together. I hope I'm clear on that. And after this row, when you're done with the number of rows that you need for your size, you will make a knot on this last row. So for me, that is white, and on the white row I'm going to make a knot and cut this, and then I'm going to go to the back and I weave in this tail into several stitches because I no longer need it, the tail of the magic ring. Just weave it into the same exact color, which is green. Don't put it through random colors. And make sure it's secure enough. And after that, you can cut it off. And that's how our granny square looks like. This is the back side. Doesn't look so bad, but the front side looks so neat. So you're going to go ahead and make many of these. As you can see here, I have so many of these. You're going to have to make a total of 36 of them. These are mine. Go ahead and make a total of 36 granny squares which are identical, and then I'll be back to show you what to do next. So after you have a total of 36 granny squares, you're going to start placing your final round. The final round is the one with this color in the middle, or whatever color that you choose to use for your boundary color, and that will be the main color of your poncho. So for me, that will be the olive green that's in the center of my granny square. So I'm going to make a slip knot, and then I'm going to attach my yarn in this corner like that, and I'm going to chain 3. We are basically doing the same exact thing. So since this is a corner, we are going to place 2 more double crochets into the same space, and then chain 2 and 2 more double crochets, sorry, 3 double crochets into the same space. So we have 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then chain 1. This is a chain 1, so it only gets 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets. So I'm rushing through this because we already know what to do. After this, chain 1, this is a corner, so it will get 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets like that. So after this, you're going to chain 1 and go all the way around, placing only 3 double crochets in each chain 1 space, separated by chain 1s. Don't forget to always chain 1 in between. And then when it comes to the corners, you place 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Don't forget that each corner gets chain 2 spaces. So when you come to the beginning of your round, you're going to chain 1 and place a slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 that we made. And after that, you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So I'll be able to get rid of all the loose strands at the end of my project, because this can slow down the project, yet we would have done it when everything is done. So this is how the final granny square looks like, and to take this measurement, I have a total of 5.5 inches for my granny square. So we're going to start joining. So I have the final row finished on the very first granny square. I'm going to introduce the next granny square, and we are also going to be placing the final row, but the only difference is we are going to be joining at some point. We are going to be joining here. So you're going to attach your yarn here, and you're going to chain 3 and place 2 more double crochets, because this is a corner, so we have 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 more double crochets. Then you're going to chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 doubles, chain 1, 3 doubles, and I've decided that this is the side that's going to be joining to this granny square. So you're going to chain 1 instead of 2 because we are in the corner here. You're going to chain 1, remove your hook, and grab this corner of this opposite granny square. You're going to pull through this loop and then chain the second chain, and then you're going to place 3 more double crochets into the same corner. We are doing the same exact thing, the only difference is we are now joining the granny squares together. So after this, you're going to chain 1, remove your hook, go into the next chain 1 space, pull through this loop that you left behind, and then place 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, remove your hook, pull the loop through the chain 1 space, place 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, remove your hook, pull through, and then place 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, remove your hook, go into the next chain 1 space, pull through that loop, and place, now we are in the corner, so we place 3 double crochets, chain 1 instead of 2, remove your hook, go into the corner of the second granny square, pull through this loop, chain the second, because we had to have 2 chains in the corner, so we did 1 before we attached and then did the second after we attached, and then you're going to go into the same space with a total of 3 double crochets, and then chain 1, and since we are done joining here, now we are going to continue doing the same exact thing that we were doing. Nothing is going to change until the granny square is finished. Chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets into the same space since this is a corner. Chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 doubles, chain 1, and 3 doubles. And then you're going to chain 1 and slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 that you made. And after this, you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. So that's how we join the granny squares together. So both the granny squares now have the final round of green, but joined at the same time. We joined as we worked the second granny square. So we're going to go ahead and keep joining these. I'm going to show you a formula that you can use to follow along and join your granny squares together. So I'm going to be demonstrating this using a few pieces of paper. So your first front panel will look like this. So count the number of granny squares involved and make the same exact shape. This is the front panel. So we have 3 by 5, which makes 15 boxes, these ones, and then you're going to add these 6, that makes 21 granny squares. So this is the first front panel. Then the other thing that you're going to do, when you turn your poncho to the back like this, you will have to do a total of 9, 3 by 3, and that's the piece that's going to go here in the middle of the back. You can see that. So we are left with the 4 here, sorry, the 6, because these are 3 by 2, so those are 6 boxes, and then 6 on this side. Now you're going to also add 3 strips, 3 boxes like this, and then also on this side like that. But instead of first adding this, what I did was to fold over. I'll be explaining it on the actual poncho, but you'll fold over this strip, the one of the outside granny squares, into half. You'll see that on the actual poncho. I'm just demonstrating this so that you get it clearly, and when I'm explaining it on the poncho you don't get confused, because the poncho is quite large and can't be filmed on the whole footage. So you fold this into half, so you have half of this on this side and then half of it on the back side. Then you'll be able to place this strip of 3 in that middle section to close up the back panel. So I hope I'm clear on that. And then you'll do the same exact thing. You fold over the edge strip of 3 like that. You have half on this side and half on this side, and then you'll get this strip of 3 and fix it there. I hope you still remember how we joined the granny squares. You're going to do the same exact process again and again until your poncho is complete. So this is what we have at the back side, and when you join your granny squares completely, you'll be able to get the actual shape of the poncho. So it will look something like this, and this time also the back side will be filled, and we shall only be remaining with working on the neckline, the base, and then the sleeves. So let me introduce the actual poncho and we see what to do from there. So this is how my work looks like, my front panel. We have a total of 15 granny squares joined, 15, and then the 6 here. So we have a total of 21 granny squares for our front panel. And then we are going to fold over this row here, the one on the edge of our neckline, like this, into half, and then we shall be working the missing pieces on the back panel. So you can see this is halfway folded, so that means we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 more granny squares to be placed onto this poncho to make it a full poncho before we start working on the neckline and everything. So the other side was a total of 21 granny squares arranged just like I showed you on paper. And now we are going to, I have already joined a box of 9 granny squares that are going to be placed here. You're going to go ahead and join the 9 granny squares like this, and they're going to be placed in this space. And you can see the only thing left is to fill in the gaps here and here. So the 9 are already done, so we are remaining with the 6 that are going to fit into this space to complete the back panel. So while I'm working on this part, you'll be seeing how you can join when you have like 2 sides of a granny square to join onto the piece. So what I showed you before was how to join in a row, but I didn't show you how to join when you have like two sides that are going to attach onto the piece, something like this and this. So I've already worked my first side here, I've worked my corner, and then this first side, and then I have my one chain. So I'm going to be placing that granny square into this space. So after my one chain here, I will attach to this corner, chain one more, and then 3 double crochets, chain one, remove your hook and pull through the loop from the next chain one space here, and then 3 double crochets, chain one, remove your hook, go into the next chain one space. It's almost the same exact thing that we were doing before, so don't be scared to work on this project. Chain one, chain one, and this is a corner, so it will get a total of 3 double crochets, chain one, go in the middle of these 2 granny squares and pull through that loop, and then chain one more, and you're going to place 3 more double crochets into the corner. So this is what we have so far. You can see we've joined this side, and now we're going to work across until we get to this point, and then we shall attach the same exact way as we did here. So we are in the corner, and you're placing 3 double crochets, chain one, and then let me turn my work like this. We are going to attach into this space, and then chain one, 3 double crochets into the same space, so this is what we have so far. You can see that. So we are going to attach all the way down until the end of this piece. So this is how everything will look like after attaching that granny square. And basing on our placement, your work will look like this. Remember, this is halfway folded, these granny squares on the edge. So we're going to go ahead and start filling in these gaps with the next granny squares, and then we shall do the same on this side as well, and I'll meet you guys at that point when we are done with the general shape of the poncho. Then we shall go on to the next step, which is the neckline and everything else after that. Okay, so after you get everything in place, when you get the general shape of the poncho, we are going to start working on the neck area, and for this I'm going to be using the main color of my poncho, that is olive green, and I'm going to make a slip knot, and we're going to narrow down the width of the neckline. So I'm going to attach it into this chain one space. I know I still have loose ends to weave in, but I want to deal with that later on when I'm done with the project. So this chain one space before the exact middle of the poncho, that's where I'm going to place my yarn, attach it, and then I'm going to chain 3, which will act as a double crochet, then place 2 more double crochets into the same space, like that. So we shall have a total of 3 double crochets. Then we are not going to chain 1, we are just going to cross over into this chain 1 space after the exact middle. So prepare for a double crochet and go into the chain 1 space and place your 3 double crochets. So we are trying to close in order to prepare for the cowl that's going to go on our neck. So after this, you're going to chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. And when you get to this point where the 2 granny squares are meeting, you're going to chain 1 and go into this side with 1 double crochet, go into the middle space between the 2 granny squares with 1 double crochet and 1 double crochet onto the other side. So we've created 3 double crochets in the middle here, and after that we are going to go all the way around until we come to this point where we started from. So don't forget, when you get to this point in the middle, just place 3 here and don't chain 1, just cross over to this side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that very quickly. So this is another point where the 2 granny squares are meeting. So 1 on this side, 1 in the middle, and 1 on the opposite side. So I'm at this point where we are placing 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space before the exact middle part of the poncho at the back side. So after this, you're not going to chain 1, you're just going to cross over to the chain 1 space after the middle on the opposite side, just like we did on the other side. So this is what you'll have. So after this, you're going to continue the same exact thing that we've been doing. So we're almost coming to that part where we started from. Sorry. And I'm placing my last 3 double crochets into the last chain 1 space. after this, I'm going to chain 1 and slip stitch into the top of the first chain 3 that we made. This is what we have. And the next thing that I'm going to do is to chain 3 and then turn my work to the opposite side and place 2 more double crochets into the same space to create a total of 3, and then chain 1, and you're going to continue to place only 3 double crochets into each and every chain 1 space until you get to the middle section on this side here. So the middle section right now is behind where we started from, but when we get here I'll show you what to do. So I've placed 3 double crochets before we reached the exact middle. So we are going to just prepare for a double crochet and cross over to the other side and place 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space after the exact middle point. And then chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. So everything else remains the same. The only difference is when you get to the middle points. So remember, we have 2 middle points. There's one at the front and one at the back. The ones that form the deep V shape, that's where we don't chain 1, we just cross over. That way we start decreasing the neckline, and with time we shall have a narrow space for our neck. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing until I reach the second deep V. So the project is now bulky and very hard to handle on camera, but we shall get through it. So I'm placing my last 3 double crochets before the exact middle V, and after this, remember we already have 3 double crochets here, and this is the exact middle, so we shall not chain 1 after this. We shall just go into the top of the chain 3 at the beginning of our round and make a slip stitch. And now this time we are not in this space, so we're just going to turn our work and slip stitch until we get to the chain 1 space, and then also slip stitch into the chain 1 space. Then you're going to chain 3 and then double crochet twice into the same space. So you can see we've come back to something that looks like this row that we just finished. So after our 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and we're going to just repeat that. We're going to repeat round 2. From the granny squares, we've so far done 2 rounds, so we're going to repeat round 2 until I'll let you know how many rows that I did before I started working on my curl, and we shall see what to do from there. So you can see that the neckline is curving in. I'll let you know how many rows that I did before, and then we shall see how to work the neck portion of the poncho. So I continued to work this round until I had a measurement that was close to my head circumference, which is 56.5 to 57 centimeters. So continue working that until you get a measurement that's around that. you can see this is about 29 centimeters. So that means times 2, it will be around 58, 57. So make sure you have such a measurement, because if this piece can't go through your head, then you're working for nothing. No one will be able to wear this piece. So I did a total of 4 rows. From the granny squares, I have a total of 1, 2, 3, and 4 rows up. And then from here, I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. Now make sure if you're on the right side, just stay there. But I was on the wrong side, so I had to turn my work to the right side. So I'm going to chain 3 and go into each and every stitch with 1 double crochet, including the chain 1 spaces. So go into each stitch with 1 double crochet. All the way around. So you're going to repeat that, and I'll meet you back at this point. So after making it all the way around the neckline, you're going to go into the first chain and place a slip stitch on top of it. So this is how your work will look like. And now we are going to start doing something different. We are starting to make the ribbing that goes up our neck. So you're going to chain 3, front post double crochet into the next stitch, and then back post double crochet into the next stitch. So a front post double crochet, you prepare for a double crochet and then go behind the post and push it to the front. And then a back post, you prepare for a double crochet and go in front of the post. You go behind and push that post to the back. And then continue to alternate between these 2 stitches all the way around until you get back to the beginning of your round. So you'll start to see the ribbing effect. And I'm going to go all the way around, alternating between the 2 stitches. I'll meet you back at this point. So when you come back to the beginning of the row, I ended with a front post double crochet. I'll make 1 slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 that I made, and then chain 3. This time we're not going to turn our work. From now on, we just work in rounds without turning our work. And you're going to place a front post double crochet in each front post double crochet and a back post double crochet in each back post double crochet all the way around. The front post double crochets are the ones coming to the front, and the back post double crochets are the ones popping at the back. The ones that are pushed back, like these ones in the middle, the ones that are inside. So those ones get back post double crochets and front post into each and every stitch that's popping onto the front. So we are going to repeat this round until I get the number of rounds that I need for my neck portion. I'll be letting you know how many rounds that I did when I come back. So I did a total of 15 rows altogether, and this measures about 6 inches for my neck, and we're going to fold it over like this to get that folded look. So now we're going to be working on the sleeves of our poncho. So you're going to grab your yarn and hook, and we're going to go to the side of our poncho. So we have this granny square that folds over, this one that's folded on that line, and you're going to grab your yarn. You're going to determine the space that you want to leave for your armholes. So for me, I considered this granny square, and then after this corner and these 3 double crochets in this space here, and then I also mirrored it to the other side. So my armhole will be this wide. You don't want to make it so wide because you want it to grab your arm, because it's going to be resting around here after your elbow, somewhere here. So I'm going to grab my yarn and attach. So I've joined the behind side to the front side. So after this, you're going to chain 3, and you're going to go all the way around our armhole. The armhole is from here to here. We're going to be working in rounds. So after your chain of 3, you're going to go into each and every stitch with 1 double crochet, and then into the chain 1 space you'll be placing 1 double crochet in there. So continue to do this all the way around until we get back to the starting point of round 1. So we are back to the beginning of our round, and after this you're going to go into the chain 1 space with a double crochet, and then slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 that you made. So this is what you'll have. Now we're going to start doing the ribbing around the sleeve. So chain 3, front post double crochet into the next stitch, and then back post double crochet into the next. Just like we did for our neck, we're going to just repeat the same exact process, alternating between front post and back post double crochet all the way around, and then when you come to the end, you slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 and continue working this row until you have a total of 10 rows all together. 10 rounds for the sleeve. So I'm going to go off camera and I work these 10 rounds, and when I get done I'll be back to show you how that looked like. So after my 10 rounds, this is what my sleeve looks like. If you want it longer, you can go ahead and make your sleeve longer, but I want it this length because I don't want it too long. Now I'm going to go ahead and work the same exact thing on the opposite side. After working on both sleeves, you'll have something that looks like this. These are the sleeves that are going to be around your arm, and then this is the neck portion, and when you spread them out they look exactly the same. So now we're going to be working on the bottom part of our poncho. So let me turn it to the bottom part. We're going to be working all the way around this poncho. If you wish to close up some space after the sleeves, please do so at this point before you start working on your final rows. So for me, this closure is just enough. I want this space to be hanging. So I'm going to grab my yarn, still using green, and I'm going to attach my yarn in this chain 1 space here or in that space where the sleeve gets off the poncho. So I've attached my yarn. So after attaching your yarn, you're going to chain 3, and you're going to go into each space, each chain 1 space with 1 double crochet, and each stitch with 1 double crochet. So just like we've been doing when we were starting the ribbing, we're just going to go into each stitch with 1 double crochet, and into each chain 1 space with 1 double crochet. So something like this. And when you get to this point where the 2 granny squares meet, you just go into the middle with 1 double crochet, and you're going to do that all the way around. Make sure you don't tamper with the shape of the poncho. We are just trying to work a very clean edge on our piece. So without this row, let me show you what that looks like. We have these inconsistencies, but when we work this row, we are going to have a clean edge that is uniform. So I'm going to do that all the way around. So when you come to this point where you have the chain 2 space, that is the pointed part of your poncho, you're going to place 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets. And after that, you're going to just continue with the same exact sequence as we were working on this side, onto this side, and then you flip your work over to this whole side and do the same exact thing until we get back to the beginning of our round. So we've gone all the way around our base of the poncho, placing double crochets both at the front and at the back of the poncho, and we've come back to the beginning of our round. And after this, you're going to go into the first chain 3 that you made with a slip stitch. You're going to chain 1, and this is what we have. You can see the poncho is more uniform at the base. You're going to chain 3 and go into the same exact stitch with a total of 3 double crochets, and then skip 2 stitches, and then into the third you're going to place a single crochet. We're going to create these scallops all the way around. So chain 3, double crochet 3 times into the same stitch where the chain 3 comes from, and then skip 2 stitches, and into the third place your single crochet. I'm going to repeat this all the way around until I come back to the same exact spot. This is going to help us create those scallops at the base of our poncho all the way around. I have made it all the way around the base of my poncho, and I have only 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left. So I'll chain 3, place my 3 double crochets into the same stitch, and this time I'm going to just skip over everything because I've been skipping 3 stitches, and this time there are 4, so I'll skip over the 3 and then place a single crochet into the 4th, and then slip stitch into this space between the 3 double crochets and the chain 3. You're going to slip stitch in there, and then you're going to chain 1 and cut your yarn. And at this point your poncho is finished. We are done with the edging. You're going to go ahead and weave in all the ends, all the loose ends that you have on your project. And I'm going to show you how the final poncho came out. And this is how the poncho turned out after everything. I hope you guys liked this tutorial. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you did, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.